Imagine waking up in the middle of the night.
Right.
You swing your legs out of bed and splash, your feet hit the floor, and you are just ankle deep in water.
Oh, man. Yeah, absolute panic instantly.
Complete panic.
hmm
But then, you take a breath and you remember, oh, wait, I have homeowners insurance. That's my safety net.
Right. You think you're covered.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you file the claim, you assume they're going to make you whole, but then a few weeks later, a letter arrives.
Yeah.
You tear it open, expecting this massive relief, and instead,
The check barely covers the cost of the mop you used to clean up the mess.
it's insulting. And it's that exact moment where your safety net suddenly feels a lot more like a tightrope.
It really does. You're just left there staring at the damage and then staring at this tiny check wondering, like, how did some billion-dollar algorithm decide my completely ruined kitchen is only worth a few $100?
And how do you even begin to fight back against that kind of institutional math? Well, welcome, fellow learner, to today's deep dive. Today is Monday, March 16th, 2026, and we are venturing right into that terrifying gap between the disaster and the payout.
It is a really crucial topic for anyone who owns property, honestly.
For sure. So today's source material is a promotional website for a Florida-based firm. They're called Alpha Public Insurance Adjusters. And our mission today is to essentially deconstruct this text to understand, what exactly a public insurance adjuster does.
Right, and why a policyholder might actually need one.
Exactly. And we'll look at what these really intense real-world success stories reveal about the sort of hidden mechanics of property claims.
Yeah, and to establish our baseline right up front, the core premise of this material we're looking at is that relying solely on an insurance company's own assessment, it often leads to significantly undervalued claims.
Because the insurer's adjuster works for the insurer.
Exactly. Alpha's entire business model revolves around stepping in as a licensed advocate specifically for you, the policyholder. Their sole goal is maximizing that final settlement.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
But just a quick impartiality disclaimer for you listening right now. We are analyzing a business solicitation today. The source itself actually states this right down in the fine print at the bottom of the page.
Good catch. Yeah, important to mention.
Right. So we are not endorsing this specific firm, and we're definitely not taking any ethical or political sides on the insurance industry as a whole. We are just simply exploring the fascinating mechanics of the claims process exactly as they are presented in this text.
Keeping it totally strictly to the source material.
Always. So, okay, let's unpack this. The firm's central slogan right at the top, it really grabs you. It says, leading you from chaos to compensation.
Which is such a powerful framing because chaos perfectly describes the psychological state of a property owner post-disaster. I mean, think about it. You have water destroying your drywall.
Right, or maybe a literal tarp on your roof.
Yeah, you've got contractors calling you nonstop and you're trying to navigate an insurance portal that looks like it was, I don't know, designed in the 1990s.
It's totally overwhelming.
It really is. So compensation represents the orderly, logical resolution of all that chaos. They are positioning themselves as the specialized bridge between those two states.
But to really understand why someone would actually need that bridge,
Yeah.
I mean, we have to look at the shocking gap between what insurance companies originally offer and what the final settlements actually end up being.
The numbers are wild.
They honestly look like typos at first glance. Like, okay, let's look at Punta Gorda, Florida. Specifically, there's a claim mentioned in the Creekside neighborhood.
Yeah, the tropical storm claim.
Right. So a homeowner suffered damage from a tropical storm. The insurance company's original offer was, and I quote, under deductible, meaning essentially $0 are coming out of the insurer's pocket.
Which is just devastating. They're basically telling the homeowner the damage isn't severe enough to even trigger the policy.
Exactly. The homeowner's left thinking, well, I guess I have to pay for everything myself. But then Alpha steps in, and the final settlement they secure, $115,000 for a new roof and more.
Wait, wow.
Yeah, that is literally a 115,000% increase from zero.
What's fascinating here is that this isn't an isolated incident in the text. We see the exact same pattern in Key Biscayne down in the South Beach area.
Oh, the drain line issue.
Right. A broken drain line caused water damage in a multifamily building. And once again, the insurer's original offer was classified as under the deductible, $0.
Unbelievable.
But then Alpha takes over the negotiation, and that settlement jumps to $225,000.
Another massive jump from literally nothing. And it's not just water and storms either. In Pompano Beach, in the Pompano Beach Highlands neighborhood, there was a kitchen fire.
Right. And that one, the initial offer was at least something? Or...
Yeah, it was $40,900.
Yeah.
Which sounds okay until you see that Alpha bumped that final number up to $185,000.
That is a 350% increase.
It's insane. It's like taking a car that's been totally wrecked to the other driver's mechanic, and they tell you, oh, it just needs a $50 paint touch-up. But then you bring in your own mechanic, and they point out the engine block is completely cracked.
And the alignment is destroyed.
Right. And the airbags are faulty. It's just two totally different realities.
That analogy perfectly illustrates the underlying mechanism at play here, actually, because the insurance company's initial calculation is, frankly, often the most conservative surface-level estimate legally possible.
They're just looking at what's obvious.
Exactly. To an insurance company's desk adjuster, a kitchen fire might just mean, okay, let's replace the burnt cabinets, the stove, maybe a few sheets of drywall. They are only looking at what is visibly charred.
While the public adjuster is looking at everything the smoke touched.
Exactly. They are looking at the entire ecosystem of the house. A public adjuster comes comes in and understands that, hey, the smoke from a grease fire gets sucked right into the HVAC intake.
Oh, I wouldn't even think of that.
Right. It coats the inside of the ductwork with this corrosive, toxic film that cannot simply be wiped away. So suddenly, a minor kitchen fire actually requires a complete replacement of the home's heating and cooling system just to meet basic indoor air quality standards.
Why?
And they also look at the water damage caused by the actual fire hoses. Water seeps under the floorboards, it ruins the subfloor, it creates this perfect environment for mold.
So that initial $40,000 offer was literally just for the obvious burn marks,
Mm.
while the $185,000 settlement accounted for all that secondary destruction, the water, the smoke, the compromised structural integrity.
Yeah, the profound difference lies in aggressive identification. An insurer calculates what they absolutely have to pay based on a cursory look, but a public adjuster calculates what the policy actually covers when every single piece of recoverable damage is meticulously documented.
And argued using state building codes, right?
Exactly. Which brings into focus the specific environment where all these massive damages are actually happening. We're talking about South Florida.
Right, which, from an insurance perspective, isn't just a place on a map. It is a really complex, high-stakes battleground.
Totally. The physical environment itself necessitates this entirely separate industry of advocates. Florida's unique vulnerabilities create just a massive and diverse scope of claims.
Yeah, the source details a really wide net of residential issues.
Mm.
I mean, you have your standard disasters that could happen to literally anyone listening to this, whether you live in, like, Ohio or Oregon.
Right, like burst pipes, roof leaks, faulty appliances.
Yeah, accidental fires, mold overgrowth, vandalism, all that stuff.
Right.
But then you add the extreme weather elements specific to the coast.
Which changes everything.
Completely. The text lists high winds, flying debris, catastrophic hurricane damage, tornadoes, hail,
Right.
and it specifically notes flood damage, which often requires a completely separate insurance policy.
Which is just an agonizing layer of complexity for the homeowner.
Oh, for sure. You're standing in your ruined living room trying to figure out, wait, did the wind rip the roof off and let the rain in? Because that might be covered by standard homeowner's insurance. Or did the storm surge come through the front door? Because that falls under flood insurance.
And if you guess wrong or file it wrong, you get denied. And look at the coastal counties Alpha operates in: Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, Martin, St. Lucie, Indian River, and Brevard.
That's a huge chunk of the coast.
It is, and it represents a highly concentrated, very high-risk footprint. Because this area is so incredibly prone to catastrophic weather, the local building codes are some of the strictest in the nation.
Which makes sense for safety.
Definitely. But it also actually gives a savvy public adjuster massive leverage. For instance, if a hurricane damages, say, 25% of your roof, a standard insurer might offer to just patch that one specific section.
The local Florida building codes might dictate something totally different.
All right, exactly. The local code might say that if more than 25% of a roof is compromised, the entire roof must be replaced to meet current hurricane safety standards.
Oh, wow. So the desk adjuster, sitting in a corporate office, like 3 states away, they either don't know that local code, or they just conveniently won't volunteer the information.
Precisely. The local public adjuster uses that specific code to force the insurer's hand. They turn what was supposed to be a $5,000 patch job into a $40,000 full roof replacement.
That is incredible leverage. And, you know, the risk isn't just residential either. The source dives pretty heavily into the commercial side, too.
Yeah, commercial claims are a whole different beast.
For sure. When we talk about a business suffering property damage, it's not just about, a broken window or a flooded showroom. The firm heavily highlights business interruption claims.
Right, because the financial impact of the disruption is almost always way more devastating to a business than the physical damage itself. Imagine, like, a local bakery in Palm Beach loses its roof to a severe storm. Yes, they obviously need compensation to rebuild the physical structure, but while those repairs are happening, and that could easily take 3 or 4 months, their doors are closed.
They're making zero money.
Zero revenue. But they still have to pay their lease, they still have to pay their salaried managers, and they definitely still have taxes due.
But how does an adjuster even begin to calculate that? I mean, you can't just hand the insurance company a receipt for a roof. You have to somehow objectively prove the existence of money you didn't make.
It's really tough. That is exactly where forensic accounting comes into play within the adjustment process. The public adjuster has to dig into the bakery's past tax returns, look at their seasonal revenue trends, factor in their fixed costs.
They're basically building a financial model.
Exactly. They build this mathematically sound argument proving exactly how much profit was lost during that specific 3-month window. And then they force the insurer to cover that loss under the business interruption clause of the commercial policy.
That's wild. Now, speaking of the commercial side, I do have to push back on one specific service listed in the text.
Oh, what's that?
Well, Alpha outlines their property damage services, and right there in the middle of the list, it mentions cyber claims.
Ah, yes.
I mean, wait, is a public adjuster really handling a digital hack? That seems totally outside the realm of burst pipes, hurricane winds, and roof tarps.
It's such a brilliant detail to notice, really, and it perfectly illustrates how the definition of property damage is evolving in the modern era. Alpha explicitly acknowledges this nuance in the text, actually.
How so?
They state that while not all standard policies cover cyber breaches, their adjusters help navigate these highly complex modern claims to explore potential avenues for compensation.
Okay, so they aren't like sending a guy with a flashlight to look at your broken hard drive.
No, they are deploying their expertise in the policy language itself. In today's economy, a ransomware attack that locks a logistics company out of their ordering system for 2 weeks. That is just as physically paralyzing as a fire burning down their dispatch center.
That's a great point. Both events result in catastrophic business interruption.
Exactly. The adjuster's role is to meticulously comb through that massive commercial policy, looking for specific riders or digital interruption clauses that trigger financial recovery. They are applying traditional claim recovery mechanics to a digital disaster.
So what does this all mean? We've seen these massive discrepancies, right? Like a $40,000 offer turning into $185,000, or a digital hack triggering a business interruption payout. But the insurance company isn't just happily handing that money over because an adjuster asked nicely.
Oh, definitely not. They fight tooth and nail.
Right. They have literal armies of lawyers designed specifically to protect their capital. So what does the actual battlefield look like when Alpha pushes back? How do they generate that kind of leverage?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we really have to look at the sheer scale and methodology outlined in the source. They note over 1,000 claims adjusted, working with more than 50 different insurance companies, and securing over $50 million in recovered money.
Yeah, you do not hit $50 million without a serious tactical advantage.
Absolutely not. The text heavily emphasizes what they call a client-centered approach. They talk about clear communication and explaining complexities in easy-to-understand terms.
Which is huge, because we all know insurance policies are desperately confusing by design. Having someone translate that legalese is crucial.
It is. But the real weapon they bring to the table is their formal qualifications. The team relies on licensed and certified adjusters. The source actually specifically lists Alpha's Florida Public Adjuster License. I think it's W086218 and their firm license W810932.
Okay, so those license numbers aren't just like a marketing badge to look professional on a website. They represent actual legal footing.
Absolutely. Having a state-issued license means the public adjuster operates with the exact same authority and legal standing as the insurance company's own corporate adjusters.
It levels the playing field.
Completely. When you file a claim alone, it is an amateur going up against a seasoned professional whose entire job is to minimize payouts. But when you hire a licensed public adjuster, it becomes two seasoned professionals negotiating peer-to-peer.
It's essentially weaponized bureaucracy.
It's a perfect way to put it.
Because insurance policies are often written in this incredibly convoluted language, specifically to create loopholes for denial. A public adjuster's real power is matching that legalese word for word.
They are fluent in the language of the insurer. If the insurance company cites some obscure clause on page 42 of the policy to deny a water damage claim, the public adjuster cites an exception to that exact clause on page 43.
Backed up by a recent change in Florida state building codes they learned about in their continuing education courses.
Yes, the paperwork is the actual battlefield here.
And that fluency, that ability to just take over that exhausting bureaucratic fight, is what ultimately leads to the really profound emotional relief we see documented in the source.
The reviews section is really telling.
It is. When you read through the client reviews provided on the site, you honestly stop seeing the word money and start seeing words like family, shield, and peace of mind.
Right. The website's copy frequently mentions minimizing financial losses and allowing the client to, quote, focus on recovery. And the Google reviews they highlight validate that psychological element perfectly.
The financial recovery almost feels secondary to the emotional rescue.
It really does. Look at Jane Go's review, for instance. She specifically notes, the claims process is not easy, and points out that Alpha's diligence and communication reduced the extreme frustration she would have otherwise felt dealing with her insurance company.
Or take John Schmidt and Sam Duva. Both of them highlighted an adjuster named David Berkowitz.
Right, they didn't just thank him for getting them a check.
No, they praised him for being thorough, for being efficient, and basically guiding them through an incredibly stressful period.
There is this recurring theme of just feeling protected from a hostile system. Michael Gook mentioned being treated like family and really appreciated the quick turnaround on the actual craftsmanship and repairs. And
Anna Hoffman gave a shout out to an adjuster named Anwar. She noted he was highly professional and got them way more money than anticipated. But again, the undertone of the whole review is clearly one of profound relief.
Yeah, and reading all these accounts, alongside the reviews from, Jim Sinnott, Jamie Behar, and Brian McConnell, it really makes you wonder about the true nature of a disaster.
Right. Does the bureaucracy of an insurance claim actually cause more distress than the physical damage itself?
In a lot of cases, I think it absolutely does. When a hurricane rips off your roof or a fire destroys your kitchen, the physical damage is a single acute traumatic event.
It happens and then it's over.
Exactly. But fighting an insurance claim, that can be a grueling, drawn-out chronic trauma that drags on for months, sometimes even years. Every denied email, every lowball offer, every hour spent on hold just adds to the exhaustion.
And you are at your absolute most vulnerable. Your home is literally broken, and you are forced to fight a multi-billion-dollar corporation just to get what you already paid for.
Which is exactly why the text shows Alpha positioning itself not just as a financial negotiator, but really as an emotional advocate. They step in to be the shield.
They take the angry phone calls.
Yes, and they compile the hundreds of pages of documentation. They absorb all that bureaucratic friction so the homeowner or the business owner can actually focus on putting their life back together.
It is such a fascinating